Assalamualaikum and a very good day to everyone. Today, my friend and I from the group A, Crayfish, will be presenting a topic titled What Simple Actions Can Communities Take Against IAS? IAS stands for Invasive Alien Species. In this presentation, we will explore some easy, everyday actions that individuals and communities can take to help reduce the impact of invasive species on our environment. Invasive alien species, or IAS, pose a serious threat to biodiversity, ecosystem, and even the economy, not just globally but also here in Malaysia. This paper highlights the complex ecological impacts of IAS and why integrated management strategies are so important. However, our main focus is on community-based actions, simple but effective steps that people can take to support IAS control. Lastly, we emphasize the critical role of public participation to help achieve national biodiversity conservation goals. Invasive alien species, or IES, are species introduced outside their natural range, causing ecological or economic harm. These species often spread through human activities like global trade and transportation. IES can outcompete native species and disrupt ecosystems. Local communities actually play a key role. They are often the first to detect these species. By engaging in activities like public education, removing invasive plants, and restoring habitats, communities can significantly support IES control. Their involvement also strengthens early warning systems and promotes long-term biodiversity conservation. This slide highlights the key threats and trends related to invasive alien species, or IES. IES pose serious risks to biodiversity and ecosystem stability. They are commonly introduced through aquaculture, tourism, horticulture, and trade. One major concern in their ability to rapidly colonize new environments, which can disrupt native species populations. On a global level, the Convention on Biological Diversity, or CBD, emphasizes the importance of policy development and encouraging public involvement to address IES issues. In this slide, we look at two key invasive species found in Malaysia. First, the peacock bass, or Chilas pipi, was originally introduced for fishing. However, it has become a predator that threatens native fish populations, as noted by Khalil et al. In 2021. Next is the red claw crayfish, or Hyrax quadrica rinatus. It was introduced through aquaculture and has now become widely established. According to Lally et al. In 2023, the impact of these species includes predation, disruption of the food web, sedimentation, and even damage to fishing gear. This slide focuses on the socio-economic impacts of IES, especially on fisheries. Species like peacock bass and red claw crayfish have affected fisheries across Malaysia. Local fishers are experiencing lower catch rates and more frequent gear damage. IES also disrupt aquatic food chains, causing native fish populations to collapse. On the economic side, many rural communities in Malaysia rely heavily on freshwater resources. According to Baharudin et al., 2022, the ecological impacts of IAS are often viewed as financial losses, especially for those rural communities depending on these resources. This slide highlights the technologies and government actions in managing IAS. Tools like environmental DNE, eDNE, and GIS are now used to detect invasive species, even without seeing them physically. Malaysia's National Action Plan for IAS 2021 to 2025 includes several strategies such as risk assessment, early detection, pathway control, and collaboration between agencies like the Department of Agriculture and Fisheries. There are also existing laws like the Wildlife Conservation Act 2010 and Fisheries Act 1985 that provide legal support for enforcement and control. Local communities play a key role as early detectors of invasive alien species through monitoring and reporting. They help by removing invasive plants manually, restoring habitats, and joining awareness programs. A real case study from UKM showed that involving local volunteers improved IES control and promote environmental responsibility. Platforms like MyBees and MyIES also help communities share data with researchers and authorities. By combining science with local action, we create a more adaptive and effective IES management system. This study used a mixed method qualitative approach with grounded theory to explore how communities respond to invasive alien species (IES) in Malaysia. Research was done in Selangor, Johor, and Sabah, focusing on five rural semi-urban areas near IES-affected habitats. Data was collected through interviews with locals, participatory mapping of IES hotspots, community workshops on removal and reporting efforts. This method helped combine ecological data with local knowledge for better IES management.
So let's take a look at the current state of community awareness regarding invasive alien species or IAS in Malaysia. The National Action Plan for IAS highlights a critical issue, low public awareness, which remains a major barrier to effective IAS management. Many Malaysians still engage in practices like releasing exotic pets into the wild or planting alien species, unknowingly contributing to biological invasions. Further compounding the problem is a lack of understanding about the ecological and economic impacts of IAS. As noted by Ahmad et al. In 2021, this is especially true for aquatic invasive species, where awareness is particularly low. However, there's good news. Awareness can be improved. Targeted education programs and campaigns, such as those led by UKM and MyBees, have successfully boosted public knowledge and encouraged community involvement in IAS control efforts.
Here are the gaps in community actions. Firstly, is local actions exist, but they are limited. Some grassroots efforts are present, for example, like river cleaning and biodiversity training. However, these actions are often small in scale and scattered, and usually not well coordinated with national IS policies. Furthermore, there are weak reporting systems, as although locals can identify IS like tilapia and water hyacinth, reporting systems are still underdeveloped. Was taken from MDVI 2023. This leads to a delay in response and control. Lastly, lack of motivation. There are no rewards or recognition for volunteers. Thus, this discourages long-term participation in IAS control efforts. UKM 2022 stresses the need for better communication channels, support from organizations, and appreciation for community involvement. Next is community actions with impact identified. Firstly, we need to do early detection and reporting. Communities can report IAS sightings to local authorities, NGOs, and mobile apps like iNaturalist. We can also join local campaigns and participate in cleanup activities, native species planting, and ecosystem restoration. These efforts are short-term impacts, but they also educate participants very well. Furthermore, we should prevent harmful practices and avoid releasing exotic pests into the wild, dumping aquarium water into rivers or lakes, and planting invasive species like Wicania micrantha. Last on this slide, we can also promote indigenous biodiversity and by encouraging the use of native plant species in public and private spaces. It helps to reduce IAS spread and increase ecosystem resilience by Ahmad et al. 2021. Discussion and policy linkages. Based on public participation, aligning with the IG Target 9 of CBD, public involvement is key. And from this one, we can see the target number one, enhancing public awareness through the National Action Plan or IS for Malaysia. And we also have target 3, early detection and enforcement by the Ministry of Water, Land and Natural Resources 2021. Thus, we can see that local action must be backed by training, validation, and interagency cooperation. Next, we have civic action and legal recommendations. First, legal act challenges in IS control. Malaysia struggles with controlling environmental damage from alien fish due to unclear legislation and overlapping governance structures. For example, the Local Government Act 1976 needs clearer interpretation for managing water pollution caused by alien species. Secondly, propose legal improvements. We need to suggest a new provision to allow Department of Fisheries and local authorities to work together and also avoid jurisdictional conflicts in enforcement. Thirdly, there is also the roles of NGOs. Groups like Sahabat Alam Malaysia support actions such as stopping information and farming of alien fish, and also they raise public awareness through educational materials and outreach. Then we also have citizen science for monitoring. Structured monitoring can track IS growth over time. And for example, it's like in basic rights monitoring in the US, we call it sex presence and reproductive status of them. Malaysia can adapt similar approaches, combining structured monitoring, fixed sites, and unstructured reporting. For example, like citizen science apps. In conclusion, IAS is a serious threat to Malaysia's biodiversity, economy, and ecosystem stability. We need to encourage collaboration, coordinations between communities, government agencies, and scientists to improve IS management and build ecosystem resilience to empower communities and contribute to more resilient ecosystems and reduce IS threats. We also need to enhance early detection and reporting, as communities can act as frontline detectors if proper systems are in place. Citizen science projects should also be supported, as involvement in monitoring projects like for mosquitoes or crabs provide valuable data. Promoting shared responsibility through outreach and educational programs can also foster a sense of collective responsibility. Finally, we can also raise up public awareness, increase public knowledge about IS, as it is a foundational step for prevention and control. Here is a list of references. We used a total of 10 references for a more accurate and reliable finding. That is all from us. Thank you for listening and tuning in to our group.